Alrighty, we are coming back with part 2 of every freaking story I've ever written, and this part is gonna be like a behemoth because I think this entire part is just going to reflect on this one binder. There's a lot going on in this thing, just like flipping through, so we're just gonna get into it and hopefully this doesn't give me a headache. Alright, this next one was obviously not for a class because of the font I used. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to read this. Username Starson. Oh, okay. And then Devin's the brother. I wonder if this is like a continuation of the other one. They're in school. They have to stay after for some reason to get a light bulb because, you know, there's no janitorial people to do that. They get trapped in the school, and something starts chasing them. This font is killing me. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, so they get split up because that's a theme. I, like, follow, like, Devin and Starson separately, and I changed the font to this. They each have, like, an encounter with this thing. Starson ran like there was no tomorrow. She looked back to see if that thing was following her. Big mistake. When she saw that thing floating toward her with that evil broad grin, her knees went weak. And then I go to Devin, and I use Chiller. And then he has an encounter with that thing at, like, the same time. Okay, and then we go back to them. They meet up with each other. They can't get out. They have this brilliant idea to go to the cafeteria because, I mean, it's a big, wide, open space, so we'll know if he's following us, and we can easily get away. That was Starson. And then Devin says, sure, since we've got nothing to lose except our lives. Again, I spelled except wrong. Oh my god, this is like a paranormal activity thing. Okay, when they got there, they stared in horror at what they saw. All the tables were piled up on one another, and on top was that evil smiling creature. Oh my god. And then the tower falls over. They barely get away. Aw, and then they have a moment. They hug each other. Ugh. A giant wave of black liquid, like, follows them. And then it turns out it was all a dream. Ooh, but then at the end, like, it looks like they fell asleep in the school. They woke up to the janitor being like, what the heck are you doing here? And they're like, oh, it must have been a dream that we both had. The very last line. And then for the last time, they heard the laugh of the thing that had no name. Next, we have a really, like, beaten up, like, piece of paper. Look at this. But you could see, like, I had changed my title. It used to be called The School. And then I changed it to, like, Super Kids. Because this is about, like, a super school. All the superheroes go there. I, like, did a little, like, narration at the beginning. Before we actually get into the story, I talk about each and every one of them. Don't have time for that. But one of them is Santa Claus's son. His name is Santi. Santi? They get trapped in school again. Maybe this was, like, a nightmare I kept having. These 5 kids are, like, friends. They get trapped in the basement. There is a wave of butter that tries to drown them, but they get free, and then they come back the next day, and the butter is gone. I have a big theme, like, things like, is it real? Is it a dream? I also wanted to say at this point, if it's not obvious, that back in my day, we didn't have, like, computers. I mean, we had, like, a home computer, but as far as, like, laptops and iPads and all that, like, that wasn't a thing until I got into late middle school, early high school, and even then, it wasn't like everybody had one. You know, like, things started off real slow in that time period where not everyone, like, jumped on the bandwagon all at once. So a lot of this stuff, like, I wrote down by hand, especially for school, and then for school, we would have to type it up and print it out. Like, this next one, I was 13. Alright, so I'm a 13-year-old. Yep, so this was middle school because it's titled iPod. Oh yeah, here we go. Username Starson again. Starson, being the smarty pants she is, finishes her work in the middle of class, takes out her iPod because that was okay to do back then. She put the earphones in and slid the little green button at the bottom of her green iPod Nano to the side and began searching for a song. I think I had an orange iPod Nano. Or did I have a green one? I've had 2. Like, I had the little square one, I think that was green, and then I got one of the skinny ones, and that one was orange. And then I had an iPod Touch after that. She finally landed on Clint Eastwood by the Gorillaz. Pressing the play pause button, she zoned out on everything around her and listened to the music. And then all of a sudden the music she's listening to starts playing on the loudspeakers, because Bluetooth was a thing back then, which it wasn't. Like, Bluetooth was not a thing at this point. Like, I completely made that up on my own. So every time she listens to, like, to her music on the iPod, it goes to the loudspeakers, and everyone is, like, freaking out, and the teachers don't know what to do. She plays Green Day. People are getting into it. It's like a dance party in there. Oh, and then the school gets smart. The next day, they disconnect the PA system. Her friend Stacy, which Starson, Stacy, it's like the same name, was like, oh, are you okay? Because Starson was like bummed out, and she's like, yeah. And then her friend was like, can I borrow your iPod? About 10 seconds later, she heard The Bird and the Worm by The Used, another song I listen to a lot, blasting throughout the school. What? Stacy doesn't realize what's going on. Starson was like, oh my god, and she grabs her iPod back. Yeah, and then apparently it works again, even though they disconnected the speakers. Magic. Bluetooth. Oh my gosh, and then Devin. Okay, are these like the same kids over and over? Because at the end of the day, she like goes home and like her brother Devin shows up. These might, like, I might have made like a little like anthology or something with all these people. Oh, and then Devin starts talking about how like miserable the teachers are and how it's like disrupting like school and learning. But apparently the next day she doesn't care. She starts playing her music again. Oh, here we go. 2008. Okay. iPod Nano Green, 8 gigabyte. What? Alright, and then apparently they catch her somehow. The specialist that got brought into the school deduced that it was one of her iPods, which apparently there's a record of it because all the kids with the same iPod as her, like, get called into the principal's office. And then they make her play her music and nothing happens. And she makes people listen to music every single day for the rest of the year. Oh my gosh. What a jerk. Okay, next. Definitely get into, like, high school writings. This stuff gets, like, super angsty. At this point, I did have, like, my own laptop, but I still I still hand wrote a lot of stuff. I also did a lot of, like, drafting, and I feel like I still do this. Like, for a couple stories in here that we're gonna go over, I rewrote them, like, multiple times. Instead of just, like, editing, I would just completely start over, which is still something I do. Like, when I have a rough draft, to go from, like, draft 1 to draft 2, a lot of times, like, I will just completely rewrite it. For this one, I got the 2 versions. I don't know which one came before. These are both called London. This one I wrote first because my handwriting got really, really small all of a sudden. I don't know if I was just, like, trying to be cute. This one starts out like this. I did the double line because that's what people told me to do. And then this one, my handwriting gets, like, really tiny. Alright, still using the name Starson. Haven't given that up yet. So this story, I know I didn't finish. Basically, it's about this girl, Starson. She moves to London to live with her sister. 72 pages of written stuff. Oh my god. This. Jeez. I mean, it is, like, double spaced or whatever, but my lord. Let me see what the next draft, how far I got. Alright, so this one is 30, but it is, like, all single lined. And I wrote so much smaller, so probably around, like, the same amount, but good lord. Like most, early high school writing and late middle school writing, it's pretty rambly and angsty with not a lot of plot, so we're just gonna breeze through this. Basically, these sisters, they move to London. Starson gets overwhelmed. She's like, oh, I just want to go home. And she meets the neighbor boy who lives across the hallway. When they first meet, the neighbor boy is like, oh, you're American, aren't you? Because that's what everyone's concerned about. She's like, yeah, how'd you guess? And he goes, well, he started, if your clothes weren't a dead giveaway, your accent would probably do it. And so Starson looked down at herself. She had on bands, skinny jeans, a white t-shirt with a fancy black design on it, and a pinstripe casual vest. Ugh. Stop it. Okay, so at this time I knew nothing about the UK, and I just assumed that their grade system was like ours over here. So when he's like, oh, what school are you going to, or whatever, I did like, oh, middle school. We get some inner monologue. I don't know, it's feeling very Twilight-y. I don't even know if Twilight was a thing. Probably, yeah? So then she goes to this new school. She has a casual day. A lot of, like, walking around trying to find her classes. She has a really weird teacher, but okay. Everyone's staring at her because they don't have anything better to do. So she goes to walk to her seat and somebody tries to trip her, but she, like, lifts up her foot so she doesn't get tripped. And then this boy who was like, oh, that was smooth. And she was like, yeah, I know. Apparently no one has told her that New Yorkers aren't that gullible when it comes to, like, tripping people. He smiled at that, half because of what she said and half because of that adorable accent. Starson could tell he was thinking something along the lines of that, just by the look in his eye. Really? He also thought of something else, but Starson couldn't place it. You know, okay, Twilight does a lot of that. Like, Bella, the main character, does a lot of just, like, assuming what other people are thinking by their looks, and it makes you feel like people like her a lot more than I feel like they do. And then she looks over and there's these 5 boys just hanging out. One of them was like drinking something and laughed and like spewed it into like the girl in front of him. They all have yellow eyes. Oh, I remember this story now. They turn out to be werewolves. But it takes 70 pages for our main character to realize that. And they can all read each other's minds, because werewolves do. Is this a fan fiction? And then I just took out a bunch of stuff. This is me editing, because I was like, that's a dumb idea, let me just take it out. And still, by the end, she like sees the werewolves outside of her window, and that was it. My friends and family who read my stories would get so mad at me because for a while, like, I just didn't finish anything. Alright, so I'm gonna assume the second one is like the same exact stuff. I think I'm gonna leave this part here just because I need like a breather. I don't know, like, this is getting out of hand. So yeah, I will come back to you later with part 3. Thank you so much for watching, if you're still here.